It is your morning show with Wayne and Rikki Lambert, who's on our Flow News 24 desk, is talking agriculture with me. Rikki, there's been an interesting discussion that has emerged where New South Wales farmers are currently baiting for mice. At the same time, the ABARES has released its report on what pest and weed management is costing the average farmer. Let's take a look at the data, Rikki. It's an intriguing one. If you were baiting in New South Wales right now, across about 2,500 acres of a farm, it'd maybe cost you about $20,000 in mice baits.
Yeah, that's what the New South Wales farmers are estimating. It costs roughly that much to bait that area. But across the Flow News 24 news desk, we see a lot of other information come through, and this one stood out to us was an ABARES press release about 2 surveys they did across 3 years, and it shows that farmers have slashed the amount they spend on all pest and weed management, not just animal baiting like mice, but it's spraying weeds as well. It's gone down from $20,000 a year to $11,500 in the latest survey. So you look at the cost, $17,000 to $20,000 for one baiting run on 2,500 acres, compared with the total they spent on all pest and weed management of $11,000. That's how crippling this is.
Yeah, the mice plague costs a lot more money to deal with than anything else. Actually, we're talking too about the losses in the last 3 years have been largely more insect-related rather than necessarily plant-related or animal-related. We often think of the losses in terms of, say, foxes or mice eating the seed and so on. But the report from ABARES actually says that farmers have been spending more money on trying to deal with insects.
Yeah, well, it just shows how devastating locusts and other insects can be for crops. And it's kind of interesting, another thing that came across my desk, incidentally, was that the CSIRO are doing research into eating insects, and they think this is our next big export market, a princely sum of $1.5 billion a year globally for eating insects. So our scientists are on the job. They've got a solution. If we've got too many insects eating our crops, we'll eat them instead.
Does eating insects make you vegan? Not sure.
Oh, gee, there's probably a word for that I can't think of.
Invertebrate vegan or something like that. Mouse control is a serious cost for grain growers. We know that just from these figures. The financial damage, though, caused by insects is emerging as another key issue. But you mentioned yesterday about even robots picking weeds that could effectively bring the costs down of weed management and maybe even the cost down of the kind of sprays we use for weed management.
That's right. I think with one of these robots they've come up with sprays the weeds with lasers, shoots them with lasers. But of course there's a capital cost of getting those machines out on the ground in the first place. But it does boggle the mind to think one day maybe you'll even have drones out there scaring birds or insects off of your crops. It's going to be an interesting world for farming in the future, but we're going to have to keep coming up with ways of keeping these pests out of our crops so we can keep our productivity up.
Okay. Well, those that are battling mice right now through New South Wales in our riverine are listening to this. I know that a third and fourth baiting may be necessary even after crops are sown and having to re-sow sections of crop that just get attacked. So it is a very real issue, a very costly issue, one that I'm sure that when they do the next ABARES report, we'll see significant rises across the report, I would suspect, given that those statistics where no mice plagues were relevant for New South Wales and Queensland farmers across 2016 to 2019.